This morning, I saw a headline basically saying that an XRP ETF approval is almost guaranteed. Now, I nearly fell out of my chair. I'm not even kidding here, right? If it's true, then my 5-year roller coaster with XRP might just hit the jackpot. Now, my friends have called me crazy for calculating and kind of clutching my XRP through every high and low these past few years. But a few days ago, I'm kind of sipping on coffee and scrolling through our free educational Discord server. The link, by the way, is in the description. And a buddy shares this headline that makes me do a double take. Apparently, some wealth manager is out here saying that the SEC will approve a spot XRP ETF this year, and he is almost 100% sure about it. Wait, 100%. In the investing world, you ever hear 100%? That's almost like saying guaranteed. Naturally, my first thought was, is this real life? Could I have actually kind of backed the right horse for once? Now, he wasn't just kind of making it up either, right? This wealth manager, this is 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋 is his name, by the way. He pointed to data from Polymarket, which is like the kind of Vegas of crypto predictions, where people bet on events. And right now, those Polymarket bettors are about 87% confident that at least one XRP ETF will get green light by the end of the year. Better yet, Polymarket users nailed the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF bets too. They put high odds on those, and sure enough, those ETFs got approved as well. 87% odds is huge, isn't it? That's a 16% jump from where it was about a year ago. Heck, at one point in early June, that number hit something crazy like 98%. So basically, there's a ton of people that seem convinced that an XRP ETF is coming. So at this point, I'm thinking either I'm about to look like an absolute genius, for buying XRP that is, or officially been drinking too much XRP Kool-Aid. And the kind of, at least to really kind of explain why this news has me so kind of amped, I need to tell you how I got here, don't I? Buckle up, it's been a ride, hasn't it? See, I first bought XRP back in 2018. I was a newbie investor, lured in by the promise that XRP was going to the moon. I threw a few $100 in and daydreamed about doubling my money by summer. Spoiler alert though, that didn't happen, did it? No. In fact, my timing was pretty awful. A couple years later, the SEC, the US SEC, slapped Ripple, that's the company behind XRP, with a lawsuit. Overnight, exchanges delisted XRP left and right, and the price crashed. And my investment looked like a bad joke. Friends who had bragged, or at least I had bragged about the next big thing, were suddenly saying, "I told you so." It was one of those moments where you either panic sell or you hold on for dear life. Now, a lot of people bailed out, didn't they? But I just couldn't let go. Maybe I was just stubborn. Maybe I just believed in XRP's long-term potential. I mean, the whole idea of XRP was to be able to, at least to be a bridge currency, speeding up bank transfers and all of that. Something in me said if any crypto is going to survive regulators, it might be this one. Now, you can fast forward to 2023. XRP actually got some clarity from that lawsuit, didn't it? Long story short, a judge basically ruled that it's not a security in the way that the SEC claimed, at least for sales on exchanges. The price of XRP literally doubled in a day after that news. I remember staring at the chart with my jaw on the floor. For the first time in a while, I felt vindicated, like maybe I wasn't crazy to hold on to this thing. Of course, crypto being crypto, the roller coaster didn't stop. Prices dipped and rose, the market had its moods, right? But my conviction in XRP was stronger than ever. And then came this whole idea of an XRP ETF, which honestly, I'd never imagined back in the early days. An XRP ETF, to me, was kind of like the holy grail of legitimacy. This kind of meant that regular people, and more importantly, big institutions, at least institutional investors, they could buy into XRP without fiddling with crypto wallets or exchanges. It's kind of like opening the floodgates. So hearing that someone as kind of plugged in as 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝘶 says that these floodgates are about to open in the next couple of months, you can imagine why I'm about to spit out my coffee. So I decided to dig deeper, didn't I? I've learned that sometimes the hard way, of course, that not to just trust one random headline. So I read more about what is going on here. Turns out there are multiple big players that are lined up for this XRP ETF. I'm talking asset managers like Bitwise, Grayscale, even Franklin Templeton, huge names in traditional finance. They all have applications in for an XRP fund, and they've been updating their filings, apparently to address the SEC's questions. Now, you know, things like how they're going to handle buying actual XRP or cash when people invest, how they'll let investors redeem shares for cash or for crypto, those kind of nitty-gritty details. Basically, these firms are bending over backwards to satisfy the SEC. And the SEC, for its part, has been dragging its feet. They've delayed decisions on these XRP ETF filings again and again. It's classic, right? But they can only kick the can so far down the road. And by October of 2025, they legally have to give an answer. And that's like right around the corner now. So we're looking at a potential final showdown in just a few weeks. I've literally got a date circled on my calendar for mid-October. It feels like we're waiting for exam results or something, except instead of a grade, it could be a rocket ship from my portfolio. Or, you know, nothing at all. Will I get an A+ in crypto investing or flunk out completely? Only time will tell. Now, one thing that 𝗗𝗂𝘶 pointed out is that a lot of people are underestimating the demand that this XRP ETF could attract. And I get it. XRP isn't as hyped as Bitcoin these days. Some people shrug and say, who even cares about XRP anymore? But the way that he tells it, this could be way bigger than people expect. Now just look at what happened when the first Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs launched. Wall Street practically FOMO'd in. Bitcoin ETFs have amassed over $54 billion in investments, and Ethereum's funds got about 13.5 billion. Funds, you know, over time. And these are not small numbers, are they? And initially, plenty of experts said, there won't be much appetite for crypto ETFs. Boy, were they wrong. Money poured in, didn't it? So, when I hear people dismissing the idea of an XRP ETF, I think of those examples. Maybe XRP's underdog story is about to surprise everyone. In fact, some analysts are already kind of tossing out some eye-popping predictions. Right? JP Morgan's research team reportedly thinks that a spot XRP ETF could pull in up to $8 billion in its first year. And get this, the CEO of a crypto firm, Steve McClurg of Canary Capital, predicts $5 billion might flood in during the first month. Now, the first month is a pretty bold claim. It's either one of those kind of predictions that comes true, then, you know, we're talking a whole new kind of ball game for XRP if it does. Now, I'm not saying to take those numbers to the bank, but it shows the scale of what could happen here. It's kind of like XRP might go from the kiddie pool to the Olympic pool of finance. By this point in my research, I'll admit that I had dollar signs in my eyes, right? I'm picturing an avalanche of money coming into XRP, the price shooting up, and all those years of holding finally paying off. My imagination ran a little wild there for just a second. But hold on. Here is where I had to kind of check myself, and where I need to kind of level with you too. So here's a quick reality check time. Now this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Okay, well, I'm glad that we got that out of the way. Now, let's look. I know that that disclaimer kind of pops the fun balloon, right? But it is needed, and it's needed to be said. The truth is that there's always a chance that nothing comes from all of this. Maybe the SEC finds a way to delay again, or they just reject the ETF outright, or even if they approve it, maybe the market doesn't react the way that I expect. You never really know with these things. Still, after soaking in all of this info, I just couldn't sit still. In fact, I did something a little bit impulsive. I hopped onto one of my exchanges and I kind of bought a little more XRP. Yeah, I fired up my Blowfin account, the link that's in the description. It's an affiliate link that supports the channel here, by the way. And I just grabbed some extra XRP. And I'm not going to lie, right? I did the same on BitGet. Yep, another affiliate link down in the description also supports the channel here. Now I know, buying more on a rumor, it is risky, but I've also been in this game long enough to trust my gut when something feels significant. Plus, I've seen what happens when you wait for official confirmations in crypto. Often, by the time that it's safe, you've missed a big chunk of the gains. So I figured, I've already come this far with XRP, why not lean in just a bit more? Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't just bet the farm or anything crazy. I'm not selling my car or taking out a second mortgage to load up on XRP. I'm still managing the risk here. But I did take what I would call a calculated gamble. Because if an XRP ETF truly is on the horizon, then I want to be positioned for it. Now, I was chatting with our friendly members and people in our Discord server all about this move, and their reactions were kind of mixed. Some said, dude, you're crazy. Others were like, man, I wish I had your conviction. And honestly, I kind of agree with both sides. Maybe I'm a little crazy. At least in crypto, that might actually be a prerequisite. But one part of me is still quite nervous. Like, what if I'm just getting ahead of myself and the SEC drops a big fat no, in October? I'll feel pretty dumb at that point, I'm not going to lie. But another part of me remembers why I got into XRP in the first place, right? I saw potential where others only saw controversy. I stuck with it when it seemed hopeless. That part of me that says if I play it too safe now, after all of this, I might kick myself forever. So yeah, I'm riding this thing out. If the ETF gets approved, you might just hear me cheering from the rooftops. I might finally call up my buddy who kind of doubted me and go, hey, remember when you said XRP was a waste? How do you like them apples? Right? In the most friendliest way possible, of course. And hey, if the ETF somehow doesn't happen, well, I'll probably just sigh, maybe pour myself a drink, and then continue holding my XRP like I have been. Because truth be told, I'm kind of in this for the long haul, ETF or not. Now, this whole journey has taught me something. Sometimes being early looks a lot like being wrong until it, well, isn't. Whether or not I get this big payoff, I'm glad that I stuck to my guns. I've learned a ton about patience and conviction, and yeah, about handling the disappointment too. Those lessons are worth something in their own right. So here I am, hopeful, a little bit anxious, but mostly excited. I feel like we're on the cusp of something big, or at least something interesting, and I'm ready for whatever comes, the good or the bad. But maybe in a few weeks I'll make another video of either kind of popping champagne or doing a post-mortem on what went down. Either way, it won't be boring, and I hope that you'll be here for it. For now, thanks for sticking with me on this wild ride. If you want to see how it all plays out and, join me for whatever comes next, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, this story is just getting started and you're going to want to see what happens next.